focused in all that they do. The presence notwithstanding, your thoughts remain so distinct. Your visions show your marvel to hearts and to all. Kyambogo University, we are proud of you for the mission straight, for the vision so bright, and the effort to provide the skills for the young and the old in education, science and other fields, beyond the swamp, prevalent.
Thank you, Chaplain.
MC. The woman I spent most time with growing up was my grandmother. And why? Because my mother died when I was rather young. So I wanted us to reflect on the message the family invited me to propose a message we would put on my grandmother's tombstone. It is taken from Proverbs chapter 31, verse 10. Who can find a woman of worth? Far beyond yours is her value. Who can find a woman of worth? Far beyond yours is her value. God, we thank you for the many, many, many women all across our country and beyond. beyond, who have inspired us all, regardless of gender. We thank you, Lord, for our mothers, our grandmothers, our aunties, our mentors, our educators, our sisters. We thank you for the women, young and old. We thank you for the growing women aspiring to greatness. We thank you, Lord, for this day and for our institution to recognize this day and the women. Lord, we pray especially that our culture all across the board will acknowledge the value of women in equal purposes. Lord, I pray for an end to all forms of abuse, especially of women, especially the young women. We pray for equality. We pray for fairness. We pray for justice. We pray that the value of women, the women bring in our society and the world, may ever continue to be acknowledged. But I pray this with faith and trust in your love and mercy, and we may all say, Amen.
Hello. Thank you so much, Father, for that very powerful prayer. And I want to believe now that we've had the prayer. We are good to go with the program. Allow me to recognize the arrival of the Deputy Bursar, Miss Ada Nawire, well represented by Madame Birungi Mary. Madame Birungi Mary, you're most welcome. We are happy to have you here. Allow me also to recognize all other staff members from Kyambogo University. We are happy to have you here with us today. That takes us to the welcoming remarks. Hello. Hello. That takes us to the welcoming remarks. Hello. Kyambogo University. Kyambogo University. Kyambogo University. Yes, that takes us to the welcoming remarks. But I want this microphone to first get better. Kyambogo University. A call to action. Hello. Call to action. Hello. Kyambogo University. Yes. That takes us to the welcoming remarks from none other than the 21st Guild President, His Excellency Andama Emmanuel. You're most welcome.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency Ugalav Lawrence. He was also a Guild President here. I want to take this singular honor and opportunity granted to me to first of all welcome all of you for coming, but in a special way to thank men who are in this room. Can we clap for all the men in this room? There is a misconception always that when we are talking about issues to do with women, men should not surface anywhere. So it's good that we are overcoming that and embracing it as the whole society. I want to welcome you, our chief guest, Dr. Prosperous Nanchindu, and our other guests who are going to speak to us. I want to thank the Gender Mainstreaming Directorate for organizing such an occasion once again for our students, staff, and all the other stakeholders in our university. I want to thank the university management and administration for enabling such an occasion to take place in Kyambogo University. Women are a backbone of society. Women are a basis of society. And if we don't give attention to women in society, then the society we are building I was saying, then the society we are building, we are merely building it on sand. And soon enough, it will collapse. As we celebrate this day today, I want to start by thanking Kyambogo University, directly the Gender Mainstreaming Department, for everything they have done to make sure that the girl child, the women in our university, get empowered, feel the purpose they have in society. All of us know that through history and our cultures, religion, women have always been underlooked. And it took people to go to streets, it took people to come up, rise up and speak that surely this is enough, and women are as men in given aspects. So when we see that in our university, it is deliberate that women are thought of, especially the students, it really gives us hope that the future is great and strong. We specifically have to speak about the STEAM, sciences, technology, engineering, maths. These are subjects that we are thought to be only for men. And it would be weird to hear that there is a lady or a girl who's an engineer back then in the years. But as we speak now, Kyambogo University has provided platform for students who are female, who are willing and have a desire and a vocation in the STEAM side of life. So we want to thank Kyambogo University for enabling such a thing to take place. We also want to thank you for everything you've done for our students, the female students. They go through a lot. They go through heartbreaks. They get pregnant while at school. They are forced to abort. A boy deceives a student, that a girl, that you bring your tuition, let's now share the hostel. And then within a very little time, the boy has deserted the girl. They are very vulnerable, but from my experience as guild president and as a student also, I've been able to interact with a number of students who are appreciative of the services that you offer in conjunction with the counseling department. Also, we have always the issue of sexual harassment, not from majorly staff or lecturers, but even from students. Boys also harass girls, female students. And at least we thank God that many of these students have been able now to rise up and speak for themselves. I want to speak to the girls I see, our young sisters and ladies from Kyambogo College and Nabisunsa. As girls, always don't be intimidated. Always believe in yourself. Always rise up to the occasion and speak for yourself. Don't feel like you have to be silenced because you are a girl. You must always stand up, rise up, and speak for yourself. I also want to take this very note and ask all of us in this room to take keen attention to the society we are building. As we celebrate this post-International Women's Day in Kyambogo, have we ever celebrated post-International Men's Day in Kyambogo? I've been noting and I've been keen that we have, as society, as the country, as the world, as the university, we have really struggled to see that we pay attention to the girl child and different aspects at least many of the girls have been empowered, they have developed, and they have been able to rise up to the occasion. But these ladies we are preparing, are we preparing them to meet their counterparts who are also prepared, or we are preparing them to go and meet with vultures? So I would request that whoever hears this, we should take it upon ourselves to deliberately think about the boy child too. We have girls who are brought up well, they have everything it takes, but a lady ends up in a marriage with a man who domestically violates her, ends up with someone who's a drug addict, ends up with someone who does not know the basic things a man should offer in a home. And these platforms have not been granted to the boys. I know it is Women's Day, but if not all women, most of the women or girls desire to end up in a very good marriage with a caring, responsible, and everything man. So, as we are empowering the ladies, let's remember that we shall have to empower the boys. And lastly, yes, clap louder. Ladies, clap louder. You need empowered men. And lastly, as I conclude, I want to take this opportunity to really ask all of us, both students, staff, and everyone, to keep this campaign going on. It's so unfortunate that many of the students, even people in society, take some of these things for granted. People are too complacent about this. It's unfortunate that we can't have students fill this room. Yet they are there, and they go through these things, and they are aware this is happening. So I don't know what all of us collectively have to do more to see that this information gets to the last person. I feel we still have a very big challenge as people in positions of authority and positions of influence to see that the people we lead, the people we are in charge of, get to know this information and act on it so that they don't stay in just that side when they don't know what's happening. Otherwise, I would like to thank so much Dr. and the entire team from the Gender Mainstreaming for granting me this opportunity to welcome you all. Please feel at Kyambogo, enjoy the celebrations. We have been given everything. We have had tea, we shall have food, and we have very great speakers. Please listen to them and let's take advantage of their presence at our university. I remain under Emmanuel, the 21st Guild President, Kyambogo University. Skills and service, thank you so much.
Hello. Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. President. Hello. Thank you so much, Mr. President. Indeed, even if I wasn't in this room and I came in during your speech, I would tell that that is the president speaking. Hallelujah. Yes. Allow me to also recognize the presence of our chaplain, Father, Reverend. Forgive me, tongue. Allow me to recognize the presence of our dear chaplain for St. Kakumba, our Reverend Dr. Engineer Emmanuel Mwesigwa. You're most welcome and we're happy to be with you here.
Okay, so in our midst, allow me to recognize the presence of our other guest speaker, Dr. Daniel Ruhweza. You're very much welcome, sir. He's a senior lecturer at Makerere University and the head of the Department of the Legal and Jurisprudence. Which word is that? Jury? Now, doctor, by the end of this event, I will have learned how to pronounce that word. Yes, so it's a pleasure to have you, sir, and we look forward to the engagements. In our midst as well, we have different staff represented from Kyambogo University, from different departments, the library team. Do we have staff from the library team over there? You're all very much welcome. Thank you for joining us. And we have a team from the planning unit. Planning, are we here? Very well represented. You're very much welcome. Procurement. Procurement. Over there, you're very much welcome, sir. Students' welfare. Yes, you're very much welcome. Student welfare is very well represented. Audit. Audit, yes, over there. I think I also saw someone from the Vice Chancellor's office, if my memory serves me right. Over there. You're very much welcome. Ability Support Center, are you here? Awesome. Awesome.
Before you leave that, allow me to recognize a special group of students that we have here.
Please do.
The students with disabilities. We welcome you. And we thank you so much for being part of us. We honor you. We treasure you. And we love you so much.
Okay, in our midst also we have a representative from Allied Health, Miss Saba Ahewa Evrin. Are you here? You're very much welcome, ma'am. We have a representative from FIDA Uganda, Miss Atek Judith. It's a pleasure to have you. We have a representative from Busitema University, Miss Betty Bidabwa. Are you here? Dr. Betty, I beg your pardon. It's a pleasure to have you. And we have a representative from UVitab. UVitab, are you here? Miss Diana Kawozo, you're very much welcome. And it's a pleasure to have you come and celebrate with us the International Women's Day of Kyambogo University. What is coming next, Rollins?
We are right away, without wasting time. We are going to invite our acting head of the gender mainstreaming to give us some remarks. You're most welcome, Doctor.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you all to this commemoration event as Kyambogo University commemorates its 6th International Women's Day. The chief guest, Dr. Prosperous Nankindu, our guest speakers, Kansonora Matovu and Dr. Daniel Ruheza, you're very much welcome. Our special guests, members of top management present, deans and directors of faculties, schools and directorates present, representatives from our sister universities, Busitema, Gulu, and Makere, our representatives from partner agencies and organizations have been welcomed. Our special guests from Nabisun Sagao School and Kyambogo College School, teaching and non-teaching staff, the guild president, and your honorable ministers, students of Kyambogo University, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome and address you today when Kyambogo University joins the rest of the world as we celebrate the amazing social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women, particularly those that have successfully penetrated the sticky floors and those that have overcome the glass ceiling. This day marks a call for accelerated action towards eliminating the persistent structural barriers to equal justice, to do away with any discriminatory laws and policies, to address the weak legal protections and harmful practices, as well as to get rid of the social norms that erode the rights of women and girls, not only at Kyambogo University, but in our country at large. The theme for this Women's Day is a call to action scaling up advocacy to accelerate access to justice, equal rights, and empowerment for all women and girls. Now, this theme is aligned with the UN 2026 International Women's Day theme, which is rights, justice, action for all women and girls. So this year's theme creates a platform to amplify the collective determination of all women, as well as the women's rights advocates and activists in advocating for equal rights and the empowerment of all women and girls. The main focus of this year's commemoration is on ensuring equal justice for all women and girls by promoting inclusive and equitable legal systems, eliminating the discriminatory laws, policies, and practices, challenging prevailing gender stereotypes and biases, and addressing those structural barriers that have historically impeded women's empowerment socially, politically, economically, and institutionally. So the focus aligns with Sustainable Development Goal 5, which aims to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls, as well as Sustainable Development Goal 16, which seeks to promote peaceful and inclusive societies, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable institutions. I guess Kyambogo is one of them. So as we gather here today to celebrate International Women's Day, we are reminded that without justice systems that work for women and girls, rights become a promise that never arrives. Simply put, rights ought to be practically protected and defended. This means that laws and policies should not just stay on paper, but they should be enforced so that people, particularly women and girls, can experience equal rights and justice. Because equal justice inevitably translates in women's freedom to choose to work, to participate and lead at all levels, as well as girls' protected access to education, thereby reducing incidences of child marriages and teenage pregnancies. So as we mark this special day, we appreciate the progress so far made at Kyambogo University in enhancing gender equality, particularly in staff recruitment. At least the women who are recruited in both academic and administrative staff have significantly improved. Leadership at all levels. Earlier we heard about the numbers of women increasing in top management positions, as well as an increased number of staff at higher academic levels, for instance, women who are getting PhDs. Then the increased admission of female students in the STEM subjects as the STEM courses, as our guild president earlier mentioned, in addition to the efforts that the university management has made to ensure that the social welfare of lactating staff and student mothers is improved. That is by financing the establishment of a university lactation room, which can be accessed by staff and student mothers. And this is going to be commissioned very soon, which is a step in the right direction. However, it should be mentioned that despite the strides so far made, there still exist gender gaps in advocating for access to justice, equal rights, and empowerment of all female staff and students at Kyambogo, which still need to be addressed. For instance, gender gaps still exist in leadership at senior levels. For instance, at council, at deanship, we have, I think, only 3 female deans out of the 12 faculties and schools. So we think there is need for improvement in that perspective. And we need to see more females sponsored to go for further studies, because if they don't go for further studies, this reduces their opportunities for promotion to senior levels and other managerial positions within the university. And away from the formal employment, we have to be more cognizant about the fact that most of the female staff are subjected to unpaid care work, which significantly reduces their time for career advancement and job promotions. While it was noted earlier that there is an increase in admission numbers of female students in STEM, these numbers are still generally low compared to those of the male students in the majority of the science faculties. An example is the School of Built Environment. You will agree with me that the admissions are still significantly low. In the Faculty of Engineering, at least there has been a rise, and we are appreciative of that, but we can still do more. So this year's commemoration marks a call to action towards eliminating such prevailing barriers to equal rights and access to justice by female staff and students, as well as present an opportunity to discuss the gender issues such as the glass ceiling and the sticky floors, not only at Kyambogo University but in our country as a whole, which have significantly kept women in the lower ranks of the job scale, in addition to other barriers that are an impediment to the career advancement of females in our country, Uganda. Therefore, this commemoration event emphasizes the need for more fairness, enhanced inclusivity, and access to justice by all women and girls, which will positively impact the realization of gender equality, not only at Kyambogo, but in Uganda. So commemoration of this special day for all women and girls serves as a reminder to us all that justice is not a responsibility of courts alone, but rather that it is shaped in classrooms while we teach those students, then in workplaces for those who are in managerial positions, the media, how they portray the image of women. Then also in our homes, I'm looking at the issue of the unpaid care work, as well as the community spaces, and that it is reflected in how resources are allocated, dispute resolution, leadership and power sharing, as well as gender balance in decision-making aspects, which needs collective participation of us all. In addition, this commemoration reminds us all that when justice does not prevail, it can have serious implications on our mental well-being, thus the need to always seek help whenever presented with mental health challenges. Good enough we have the counseling department. Please do not hesitate to seek help in case of any mental health challenges, as our guild president earlier reiterated. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my wish that today's commemoration serves as a powerful reminder that time is running out for us as a country generally, and Kyambogo University specifically, to meet the global gender priorities, specifically SDG 5 and SDG 16 that I earlier talked about, and by strengthening women's access to justice, by closing gender gaps in the workplace, and addressing barriers like the glass ceiling, the sticky floors, and the gender stereotypes which have limited the opportunities for growth and career advancement of majority of the women and girls, we move closer to achieving the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The Kyambogo University Gender Mainstreaming Unit remains committed to work with the university top management and all other partners to accelerate access to justice, equal rights, and women's empowerment within Kyambogo and beyond. Together we can stand firm in making women's rights, equality, and empowerment a reality for all women, and collectively we can accelerate change. To the guest speakers and our special guests, thank you for honoring our invitation. To the chief guest, we thank you so much for accepting to be part of this commemoration. And ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to specially thank the organizing committee, because we could not do it alone as the Gender Mainstreaming Unit. At this juncture, allow me mention the members. Miss Irene Namuli Omeke, thank you so much. Miss Winfred Chosaba, thank you so much. Mr. Johnson Twina Masiko and Miss Sibo Jennifer are away in Gulu for another engagement, but they've been part of the preparations. Mr. Chizito Sengoba of Account Section, he has been immensely helpful. Miss Lydia Nelima, who has also been very helpful. And Mr. Nicholas Mwesije, who is our secretary. And these two students who have represented the students' body, Miss Sharon Karunji and Honorable Ashram Mukama, who is the Gender, Culture and Religious Minister. You are an amazing team. We are immensely grateful for whatever you have done, all the effort you have put in to ensure that this event happens. Happy International Women's Day to us all. God bless you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Deborah. Indeed, we couldn't have had a better, leader for that unit, for the gender mainstreaming unit, other than yourself. I should say I have hosted her on the political podium. Don't get shocked. We weren't talking politics, the other politics. We were talking women politics. And trust you me, she's an amazing and knowledgeable head of department, a treasure that we have as Kyambogo University. Come on, help me celebrate her. Thank you very much, Doctor. And we will be going right into the next session. But before that, allow me to recognize in our midst Professor Connie Sibambi, Professor Constance Sibambi, Sports Science. You're very much welcome, Ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us. And we have also been joined by Dr. Sio Santa Maria, Head of Department Biology. You're very much welcome, Ma'am. I can see that the women in Kyambogo University are in this together. We are in this together, and we will work together to ensure that we achieve and accelerate the access to the justice that we are talking about as we celebrate International Women's Day. Next on our agenda, ladies and gentlemen, we want to take the pleasure to invite our first guest speaker, and that is none other than Kansonora Matovu Mwanga, who is a lawyer and has been advocating for women's rights for the last over 30 years. Has been working with FIDA, ensuring that women and girls' rights are put at the forefront. Ladies and gentlemen, help me put your hands together as we welcome Kansonora Matovu to speak about the effectiveness of laws and policies in advancing justice for women and girls in Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen.
You're most welcome.
Thank you very much. I want us to, we didn't start with the protocol, but I want to adopt that protocol that has been presented by the head of the gender unit. Is that okay? Great. In the judiciary, they have told us to save time so that we don't repeat the protocol over and over again. Thank you very much for inviting me this morning. It's a great pleasure to be here. I do not remember in my many years of life being in Kyambogo University for such a great occasion. So this is really memorable and groundbreaking for me. I bring greetings to you from my partners at Norec Law Consultants and Advocates, and one of them actually stays in Kyambogo. So I was telling her, how come you're not coming to this occasion? And she said, let me go keep the office as you also visit our locality. So she sends greetings. That is Rebecca Chisoro and the other partner, Gloria. I want us to start by observing a moment of silence. And if you could stand up. Yesterday, a university student in one of the many universities we have in Uganda was buried. And this was after being murdered by her husband. The husband agreed with the wife to contest for a position in their locality, and he was not successful. To be able to contest, he went ahead and used the land title for their matrimonial home as security to get money to use in the campaigns. So when he was not successful, he had a conversation with his wife, and the wife decided to be proactive. Instead of losing their home, she paid off the loan. And that was the beginning of the disagreement, that in the end, the husband was ready to sell the house. In fact, he had identified a buyer and was pushing his wife and 2 children out of that matrimonial home, even after she had cleared the loan. And in the night, he killed that lady. And she was buried yesterday. So let's observe a moment of silence, because what we're discussing today is not easy. May her soul rest in eternal peace. I am deeply honored and privileged to be invited here as one of the speakers as Kyambogo University commemorates the International Women's Day for this year 2026. As the previous speakers have mentioned, the theme for this year is enabling us to look forward. We have walked this journey for some years, and we still have work to do. So we are being called to take action and address some of the gaps that led or lead to occurrences like the one I've just related to you. In my presentation, as a born-again Christian, a practicing Christian, I always start with things which give me life. Because when I feel positive and motivated, I'm able to do much more than I even thought I could do. So many years ago, when I was still young and beautiful and I joined an organization, the Association of Women Lawyers in Uganda. Soon after I left university, law school in Makerere. That time it was the only law school in Uganda. And I was exposed to things I had never seen in my life. And I'm not saying that I came from a family which was rich or anything like that, but my parents did the best they could. They really loved us, provided a good home environment, took us to good schools. But when I walked into the door of the Uganda Women Lawyers Association clinic, which was at Woodiam House that time, I came to face with things which I did not imagine can happen. Why would you have a child with a man, with a woman, and you cannot look after the child? It's as simple as that, isn't it? I mean, if you engage in certain activities, it can result into another human being coming into this world. Take the responsibility to look after the child. Some of the initial files we handled in that office were enabling male fathers, as if they are female fathers, but men to accept the responsibility to look after a child they participated in bringing into this world. And those days, that was 1988-89, it was easy to actually convince a man to contribute to maintaining a child. Today, it is not as easy for some reason. They feared once they got that invitation, they would listen to us. And they respond. We sign an agreement of some sort, memorandum of understanding, and they bring the money. And the child is supported. I have noticed that it's not as easy as it was then, even with more legal aid service providers coming on board. So as we commemorate this day, I must say that those initial actions led us to many things. And one of the things which I was asked to talk about is the legal and policy framework for advancing justice for women in Uganda. We know that Uganda in those days, 1988, 89, 90, when the current president had just taken over power in 1986, there was a lot of support for women to rise and take up their position in every aspect of society. And we used that opportunity, young as I was, to get involved in the constitutional making process beginning 1990. We traversed the country to get views of people what should be in the Constitution of Uganda. And we got a very good document, the 1995 Constitution. Do you agree with me? It was a groundbreaking legal framework for promoting women's rights. And this did not happen in a vacuum. As you may all be aware, there was a lot of global frameworks which we are borrowing from. Of course, the United Nations Charter, which was adopted in 1945, set the general framework for human rights for all persons, irrespective of their gender, color, socioeconomic status, and political affiliation. This UN Charter established human rights as a core principle for coexistence and respect for every human being. When I look at you, whether you are a man or you are a woman, a child, a boy, differently abled, first and foremost, you are a human being who chooses to come into the world. Who chose that today I will be born? We all popped out somehow. And others have survived up to this day. And many of us have. Our friends, our sisters, our brothers, our colleagues died. Yesterday we got a message on the feeder group, and they were telling us someone's brother, one of our members in feeder, had lost a brother in a fatal accident. You don't choose when you are born. You don't choose when you die. So that framework was put in place to ensure that we respect each other because we are human. Whoever gives life, in my case, I believe that life is from God. We exist and stay to use the opportunity of being alive to the best of our abilities. To enhance that framework within the UN Charter, the International Bill of Rights was adopted in 1948. And all these instruments informed what we're doing with the constitutional making process here in Uganda in those early years of the 1980s and 1990s. Other instruments at the global level and at the regional level have also been adopted, including the Convention on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, which was adopted in 1966, and then others like the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, adopted in 1979, the Protocol on the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, on the Rights of Women, which we normally refer to as the Maputo Protocol, adopted in 2003. And I could go on and on, but there are also those which are specific to children, the Convention on the Rights of the Child, adopted in 1989. So it has been a progressive process. So in the journey to come up with the 1995 Constitution, we are borrowing and looking at all these instruments to inform what was embedded in our Constitution, to safeguard the rights of women and children and generally each one of us. You're not hearing. You're not hearing. I thought my voice is straight. Okay. Change location, come closer.
Yes, hello.
So in 1990, the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child was also adopted. So somehow all these processes have been going on, and they have enabled us to inform our legal framework in Uganda. What I find interesting in those instruments is that they provide the standard. You have a right to life, you have a right to health care, you have a right to education, you have a right to be treated equally before and under the law, whether you are a man or a woman. They set the standard. And then in addition, they create obligations. So if you are in a position of leadership, what we call a duty bearer, a person who ensures that those rights are realized and enjoyed by the individuals you are responsible for, you have an obligation to understand what it entails and create systems that respect and protect those rights. Of course, they also provide for ways in which victims can be protected, can access justice against the violators of their rights, and to punish perpetrators. The husband who killed that girl first ran away, disappeared. Fortunately, these telephones are good sometimes. It is the telephone they used to track this man. Now he's in police custody, and of course, FIDA representative, this is something which we need to follow up and ensure that justice is seen to be done. Because if he can be apprehended and he's punished after it's proven that he's the cause of the death, then it sends a message to other potential violators not to do the same thing. So in Uganda, personally, I keep celebrating the milestones we have achieved over the years. Starting with our constitution, the students Please pick up a copy of the Constitution. These days you are so lucky, you sit at the computer and everything just pops up. So the Constitution, chapter 4, enumerates the rights of every Ugandan, and then it also provides the mechanisms for the protection of those rights. So as we celebrate this Women's Day, 30 years, is it 31 now, since the promulgation of our Constitution, we were also celebrating one of the instruments that was adopted at the international level, the Beijing Platform for Action, which was meant to operationalize the rights that have been adopted in different instruments at the global level. So we marked 30 years. And we're looking at the progress we have made. If I was to enumerate everything we have done, we might spend the rest of the day until 6 here. There's a lot that has been done, starting with improving the legal framework. You know, the laws which protect all these rights. So empowerment of women has been one of the key strategies that we have used. Once the rights are enumerated in the laws, you have to empower people to use those rights. How do you empower people? We do educate. And I'm so sad that some seats here are empty. Because every opportunity you get to speak to someone, you are creating a level of awareness. If you don't know what to do with the good legal framework, then it is not useful. I'll give you another example. It's very common today for people to fight over properties of deceased persons. The male relatives of ours feel more entitled to the properties than we, the female children. They say you are not of this, you got married to another clan, so you go look for your... Even when your own father gives you a property, they say, no, you got married on the other side. So we are dealing with a lot of fights over properties of deceased persons. And for me, what is very sad is that in the end, the property remains wasted as we fight. It's not benefiting anyone. I have a client with a prime property somewhere in Mengo Chisenyi. It has been empty for the last 7 years. None of them is using the property. We have an injunction, they cannot approach it, they cannot use it. The other party can also not approach it, they cannot use it. So who is benefiting? Who is benefiting? No one. So the legal frameworks are supposed to help us actualize the rights that are embedded in the law. And we empower both men and women to know the law. Because once the men don't know, they will want to cheat us. So we educate both men and women. And when you create a level of awareness, I keep telling, especially my clients, I tell them, don't give me headaches. Before you enter into a transaction, come consult me. Let's draft a document which outlines the transaction you are getting involved in, so that you know how to protect yourself, and the other person also knows their limits. That's what enabling the framework to work for you means. Don't first get problems and rush to the council to help you. Use the opportunity before those problems arise. We've also been promoting gender mainstreaming. What does gender mainstreaming mean? Gender means that all persons are considered when decisions and actions are being undertaken. So you consider how it will impact, benefit a man and a woman, a community, a group of people, those who are less educated than others, those who cannot speak English, those who cannot walk. We are right now bidding for a consultancy to review the gender mainstreaming protocols and tools for the roads and Ministry of Works. As they construct roads and bridges, what are some of the things they have to take into account? How will the constructed road and bridge affect a person who is differently abled? A child who has to cross the main road to access their school. I live near a school and they release the children, especially the candidates, at 8:30. And this is a day school. So the students, it's a secondary school, they meander around the area to go back to either the hostel or their respective homes. So what do you take into account as you construct the roads that are surrounding that school environment? Accountability. I think for me this is the challenging part, because we have very good legal frameworks, we have good policies. As you have heard, people have been appointed in positions where they can make change. How do we ensure that those who have the power and authority use it to the benefit of us all? It is one thing to have the direct gender unit. It's another thing to see results holding that position. Isn't it? Isn't it? So we need to be proactive, ask ourselves questions. I remember when I was privileged to serve on the Judicial Service Commission. It is the body which appoints or identifies those who are suitable to be appointed as judges, magistrates, registrars of courts of judicature. When I got into the position, I thought it was an opportunity to serve, not to major things. Then you realize the significance of each decision you make on a daily basis. Who gets into the position? What process do they go through? Right now, I'm very much challenged. Some of the people we are appointed, you wait. Huh? Why should you hear a case which involves vulnerable communities, individuals, litigants, and then you take 6 months to deliver a judgment? Meanwhile, advocated during our term of office, we advocated for improvement of terms and conditions of service for judicial officers. So there is no reason why someone cannot deliver on their work. So the issue of accountability is very serious. Each one of us, whether you are male or female, you have the responsibility to make the gender mainstream and deliver results. So you can do your own checklist and see what progress am I making. Then together as a team, because you cannot achieve it alone, what is it that we are doing to bring about the change that we desire? So one thing which at the international level, what they did was to adopt the decade for women, which was between 1976 and 1985. And it was in that decade when I was most active within the women's movement in Uganda and also in the region Africa. And we did amazing things. We educated, we provided legal aid services. We engaged in public interest litigation cases where it is not affecting only one individual, but you get a group of people and they become the interest group that you defend, so that there is a change in the law. I will give you an example of some of the sections within the Divorce Act, which were you are listening? I thought you knew. They were declared unconstitutional. For example, why should we have different reasons for seeking for divorce? Anyway, why should you divorce first and foremost? Love your wife up to the end. Love your husband up to the end. That is me. So, but the man had different things that they would present to court to seek for a divorce compared to the woman. And we said that is not constitutional, because the Constitution says we are equal before and under the law. So the Divorce Act had to be amended. And that came through a public interest litigation case. Formation of the civil society organizations has been something which has helped to promote the access to justice agenda, and it helped to also ensure that women can have representation in political leadership. Before the 1995 Constitution, remember that was not the case. So affirmative action was adopted, and there has to be that representation at every level, whether you want it or not. There are positions that can only have a female representative. And others which are open to all. And I've had some people saying, no, you have your position. Don't come for this mayor position. No. The mayor position is open to me, and we can contest and be elected. The issue of election has been very controversial. Of course, for those who might have been following the debates in the 6th Parliament, the debates in the 7th Parliament, the debates in the current Parliament, the 11th Parliament, is it still the same in terms of quality? So we have the numbers. What is the product? I will say that there is work to do. And one of the organizations has been doing amazing work to ensure that those who are elected as women politicians are trained is the Forum for Women in Democracy. And this was formed soon after the promulgation of the Constitution, and it has been a collective space where women are trained, they are enabled to understand that they need each other to work as a caucus, to promote certain agendas which are of interest to women in Parliament. And this started during the Constituent Assembly, when the process to adopt the Constitution was still ongoing. So the skilling has been done, and resource mobilization, because some of these processes, you cannot sustain them without money. You know what is happening today? How many organizations have been closed? They have not been closed, but their accounts have been frozen. They have staff, they have work to do, they have commitments to the communities they serve. They cannot work because their accounts have been frozen. And what is challenging is, has due process been followed before that is done? Because, of course, if you have the power, you can do it. But do you follow the process? That is the discussion that is going on within the NGO sector. Government has also set up many institutions, as you know, the Equal Opportunities Commission, the Uganda Human Rights Commission, and these are constitutional bodies. We have the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, among many others. And these are supposed to promote and ensure that different duty bearers do their part to deliver on this agenda of promoting women's empowerment and access to justice. In FIDA, we realize that asking men to come and support the children they have birthed can be very, very dehumanizing, isn't it? Especially when they started shifting. You sign the agreement and then they don't meet the obligation. So we started the Women Empowerment Program. A person needs to have at least some money which they can control and decide how to use it. And when it has not happened within your close circles, you think it's just clients coming to the clinic. Until one of your children or your niece or nephew does something which is against all the things you have taught them. Yeah? And they're not looking after their child. So you empower this lady because she's the one who is going to carry the baby up to term and then deliver and sleep with the baby every day, breastfeeding. So if she has the capacity to also generate some income, it reduces her level of vulnerability. So we took that step to ensure that dependency is reduced by increasing economic empowerment. The judiciary in particular, when we were on the commission, of course we found when these decisions had partly been made, but ensuring that judicial services are taken closer to the people. I think you've noticed that there are more courts today, and the conditions of those courts have also continued to improve. And we have high court circuits, so people don't have to travel to Kampala. Recently, they adopted, I think last year, Daniel, if you can remind me, to also expand the presence of the Court of Appeal. And this is soon rolling out. Provision of legal aid services has been a fundamental way of increasing access to justice. And as I mentioned, FIDA Uganda, the Women Lawyers Association, spearheaded this in 1988, which was a game changer for so many women and children who could not afford legal aid services. And in the process, other legal aid service providers have come up, including LAPSNet, the Legal Aid Service Providers Network, the Legal Aid Clinic or Project of the Uganda Law Society. We have the Uganda Christian Lawyers Fraternity, and this one, I find it really amazing because they help poor people, vulnerable people to navigate the criminal justice system, which even me, I find very challenging as a trained lawyer. And they also educate and sensitize prisoners on their rights and what to do. Then we have law firms that have established pro bono schemes to enable people who have deserving cases to have access to justice. And in our case at NOREC, law consultants and advocates, those have mainly been women. This is something which I find very challenging. A woman has a very good case, she cannot afford legal services. She's fighting against another rich woman who is taking her land, and you have to stand with this woman to protect her rights. There's one we protected, and Law Society gave me an award. Up to this day, she's still living on her land. But it was so disturbing. Every time I would sleep in my bed, I say, another woman is making one suffer because she has money and connections. And those are the barriers we still have to work on. I was not given the time I have to spend on this, but I will end by saying that we cannot give up. The door has been opened, and we have to keep taking every opportunity to improve the status of women and girls and all other vulnerable people. As you see, some of our citizens who are differently abled are here. And you might find that his parent had land and someone is stealing it because they think he's differently abled and he cannot defend himself. So we have to stand with those who are vulnerable in our society. But the barriers are still there. Traditional cultural norms and beliefs influence what we do. And this one I'm finding very common in cases of succession. With the war in the Middle East, with the changes in the world, the reality is monies available to legal aid service providers is reducing significantly. Am I right, Representative from FIDA? So some organizations have had to let go of some of their good staff members who are doing amazing work. The legal aid bill is still before Parliament. It has never been passed. We started it. I went and worked all over the world. I came back. It is still before Parliament. Government started the justice centers for Uganda, but it was also partly being supported by donors. And the resources that donors are bringing into the country is definitely reducing. So what do we do? Each one of us has to take a client who is needy and has a good case, and we support them. The people who I work with, especially the ones who come for internship, I always look for a file and I give it to them and I say, this is going to be your contribution to making a difference in this person's life. Read the file, let's discuss the strategy, and by the time you finish your 3 months or 2 months of internship, there must be something that you have done to make a difference. And it has worked. It motivates people. You create trust. They take initiative. So each one of us, if you have a relative, if you have a friend, if you have a neighbor, I saw someone posting on our group saying there is this child who had been burnt by a stepmother, but some of us have been stepmothers and we have brought up children, 5, 4, 3, and they are doing well. They are all educated. So it's not about being a stepmother. It's about being something else. First and foremost, that one needs Christ. Daniel. Before we get to dealing with the issue of violating the rights of that child. So there is a lot of injustice in our society, and each one of us can do something. Those who are in school, you know how poor children can be treated badly. I have just taken my nephews in Budo, King's College Budo, and you see people coming when it's visitation, cars of all shapes and sizes. Then you come in your spacio and you park. And your children are supposed to shine among the children of everyone who is big and connected. How do you help those students to shine? Because they are bright. They made it to one of the best schools in the country. So each one of us has a role to play. And even with the limitations, the struggles, you know, I think there are things which I'm struggling with even in practice right now. With my fellow counsel, sometimes, you know, the system itself, the judiciary, but I have learned to find ways in which I can make my voice be heard so that we find solutions. So we need to be solution finders, contribute to making the change we want to see. So as we name all these barriers, don't give up. There's a lot of space to make a difference, and we have many platforms through which we can make that difference. The other case which I want to end with, being that you are in a university setting, the issue of sexual harassment is very real. Every university, I'm sure, has a, you know, sexual harassment policy, prevention of sexual harassment and abuse. That policy should be known by everyone. Students, please, the schools must have that policy. For universities, it's more difficult because, as I've told you, children are left to go. You don't know where they stay. Of course, some universities have tried. I see UCU in our Mengo, Namirembe area. They are ensuring that they know every person who has a hostel who is keeping their children, so that they create certain levels of standards for the service providers to uphold and protect the children from abuse. I found a hostel where they are putting girls and boys together. Someone is making money. So this room has girls, this one has boys. That is love for money, too much. So, talk about this policy. Let it be known. Let it not be lost in the papers. I thank you very much. We cannot give up. We have to remain persistent, consistent, and committed to keep pursuing the desired change. Public education is critical. Personal education is even more important. Every child and woman is important because we do not choose who is born. We all find ourselves in this country and in this world. And we need to uphold the rights and respect for one another, for God and my country.
Thank you so very much, Councillor Nora, for that wonderful insight.
Yes, that was amazing, amazing submission from Councillor Nora Matovu Mwanga, and clearly highlighted the policies that have worked, what is not working, and what you and I can do about the situation. And she reminded me when she was concluding, and she mentioned that we all ought to be part of the solution. She reminded me that there are three types of people in this world. There are there are people, I hope this microphone can be better. There are people who create history. 2, there are people who read the history. 3, there are people who become history. I don't know where you lie. But I hope that you and I will be part of the solution to the prevailing impediments and challenges that are hindering the women and young girls to thrive or to break the glass ceiling that Dr. Deborah was talking about. So right about now, Rollins,
Yes.
we're going to have a little bit of some entertainment, right?
Entertainment.
So tell us what is next.
I think we've had a lot of talking, We've had a lot of lecturing. Now it's time we have some bit of entertainment. Yes, and we are going to start with our ladies from Navisonsa Girls. They are going to entertain us. Let us put hands. Ladies from Navisonsa Girls.
Yes,
Yes.
allow me, as the ladies come, to recognize in our midst the presence of Professor Bosco Boa, the Director for the Directorate of Research and Graduate Training. You're very much welcome, sir.
Yes. I don't know who is...
The ladies, are you there?
Oh,
Okay, give me a shout, a ladies shout. The ladies, are you there?
you know,
Woo, woo, woo.
one thing I know about them, they don't dance while putting on their uniforms.
Okay.
That is a policy.
I can't wait to see what the package that they have for us.
Meanwhile, Kyambogo College should also prepare. So immediately after Navisonsa, we shall also have Kyambogo College School.
Okay, so Navisonsa, the ladies are having for us 2 pieces, and that is a poem and a speech. You're welcome.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Atuaile Praise, a student of Navisonsa Girls School, and I will be presenting to you a poem and a speech. My poem is entitled If Walls Could Speak. If walls could speak, maybe she wouldn't have to seek for a helping hand, a bit of sympathy, or even just the slightest of empathy. If walls could speak, maybe, just maybe, her wails wouldn't be just a pigment of the night, drowned out by silence, yet filled with so much violence, and then buried by the break of dawn. Oh, if walls could speak. Down on her knees, she pleads for mercy, repent to the clergy. Too afraid to question his fragile masculinity, however, with every strike, he reveals just one more insecurity. Ironically, by cock's crow, she will be ready, with a smile upon her face, to affirm society of their joyous unity. Oh, if walls could speak. This is not a blame he poem, and this is not a change him poem, but this is a call to the nation poem. This is a call to the nation that yes, there is democracy, but she needs advocacy. This is a cry, a voice for those who have been silenced countless times. But if I may ask, will we wait for the walls to play the role bestowed upon the tongue? If walls could only speak. All right. Next is my speech. And I'll begin in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to Uganda. I want to welcome you to my nation. I want to welcome you to the reality beyond the skyscrapers and the smiles of the urban society. Now this, in my nation, is a place where you will find that only 5% of women and girls can access legal services, and 95% cannot access. According to the Daily Monitor on September 25th, 2025, showing that only 5% of gender-based violence cases were able to be given a hearing in court, and 95% go unknown. After my visit to a place called Kamoli District last year, I realized that there are very many women and girls suffering and assaulted by the men in their societies, carrying pregnancies at tender teenage ages, subjecting their children to child labor out of desperation, because these are women that have been abandoned and left to carry on the role of single motherhood. These little children vendor, they dig just for a pat on the back or just the slightest appreciation from their parents. But can you blame them with the kind of crucial issues they carry upon their shoulders every single day? However, the wails of these people, the cries, go unheard because they live in the raw part of society. So they live at a fine line whereby you choose either to be in an abusive marriage or to be a single parent. These people go as far as normalizing their tragedy because justice is so far, it seems like a luxury. This is not a woman emancipation speech, no. It's not a Save the Children speech, but it is a call to Uganda to see beyond the tall skyscrapers, to see beyond the smiles in Kampala and look towards the rural areas where 95% of these people, of our fellow citizens, bear their tragedies and still carry on as though they are meant to stay in those specific positions. This is a call to the nation that we need more advocacy, the outreaches, the education, most especially, the campaigns and all other forms of empowerment need to be increased, because as the gender-based violence and human rights violence cases scale the charts, the advocacy needs to scale the charts as well and surpass these numbers that continue to grow on a daily basis. As I reach the revelation of my speech today, all I can kindly request you is to remember is that empathy without action is ignorance. Justice is a cause worthy of advocacy, and equal rights are paramount for God and my country.
Good afternoon to you all. My name is Emily Aitasi, a student at Nabisensa Girls School. I'm going to present a poem entitled, The Beauty of a Woman. Are you sure though? See, there is this tragedy. I don't speak with experience, but you know stories entirely. And this is no fairy tale where the girl, poor with perfect hair, mean girls want to give their fair share. Apparently the hottest guy in the country, just one glimpse and suddenly wants her entirely. No. Because you know this game called reality, deep down in the slums, suburbs of Chisa, a woman who brings life to the world, but apparently the big guy heading the yellow regime with his big posh flowing like a stream, there is that vehicle covered in white We all know it calls attention day and night. Pass this helpless woman by, crying for help. 1, 2, 3 homestead to the next. Mama wange, mwana wanga jabambi munyambe. As the crowds gather, the big guy comes to scatter. The poor helpless woman brings life in front of 20 car. The white vehicle passes by 40. But this strong, beautiful, courageous woman smiles still because she has been blessed with her everything. Although on the other side of the country, May comes back from the bakery. Devious men wait patiently. Everyone knows the innocent Virgin May. Till that title is no more. Despite her screams and her protests, that dignity is lost entirely. And all they wanted to see was that red slope down to her knees. And that is their victory. So let me speak for that woman and May, because they weren't heard either way. This then is a letter, a text, a paragraph, a context to the whom, the what, and the who, to portray the rights of that woman. Advocate for justice, justice for May. An empowerment of every female baby, woman, girl, boss lady in the making, to break the barrier and seriously stop waiting.
Good afternoon to you all. I'm going to be presenting a poem entitled, Is It Really Change? An object of sex. That's what you see when you look at me. Anyway, I'm not the first. What are my qualifications? A sexy body. It's all you can see in me. As you feast on me with your scanty, useless eyes and devour me. Devour to your satisfaction at an all-you-can-eat buffet. Because who am I? Just a 5-course meal. Take a stand. Equality over sexuality. A future for a woman. A point where we all wanted change. Really? Change? Change in what? And in who? Ask me. No, really, ask me. Because only I know how much I have endured and succumbed to one who lacks sense of my value. Because he sees it in my thighs and my heavy jugs. Okay. Try to pull me down. I won't turn down a fight because, oh, do I know how to fight. Don't take me for a weak grandmother who gave in to it. Howard is mwana wange guma. Guma. I shoot, and I shoot hard at that because backing down is what renders one weak. And I am not weak. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chanel Birunji, a student of Nabisunsa Girls School, offering history, entrepreneurship, literature, here to present a poem entitled, What She Is. She rises before the sun remembers her name. Hands soft with history, strong with becoming. In the quiet, she gathers herself. 1,000 unsaid dreams tucked beneath her breath. She is not one story, but a library of information. Laughter stitched into sorrow. She is the echo of those before her and the voice of those yet to come. Call her gentle, she will endure. Call her fierce, she will be kind. For she is not what she is called, but what she chooses to define.
Wow, wow. Wow. A bigger hand clap for Navisonsa girls. Have you seen what they mean when they say they are ladies?
I guess we all going to celebrate them like they were doing. This is what they were doing. You're going to do this. Yeah, that was really...
Oh.
Okay.
So now...
as Angel, we are welcoming her.
So
the Kyambogo College way, yeah?
Is that putting her
That
hands
is my
together?
school. That is my school, so...
Madam President, is that putting our hands together or putting our fingers together?
My friend.
Okay, let us put our fingers together for Kyambogo College School.
Yeah.
Yes, you're welcome.
Please come.
Let her use that microphone.
Good afternoon to you all. My name is Nagudi Angel Esther from Kyambogo College School, S2. I'm here to recite a poem for you entitled Wonder Woman. Since ancient times, the battle for women still echoes. With the changing world and the fight for justice, equality, and empowerment praying in dark corners, women have risen, ready to defend what belongs to them. They are born to choose their paths, born to be role models. Those little girls, born to dream, to love, to lead. With hands and legs on the go, steady, ready to reshape the world. Men out there, a woman to live with, not to abuse. A woman for comfort, not combat. Girls, mothers of tomorrow, bosses, and definitely presidents. Thank you.
Angel. Okay, let's first do the Kyambogo College way. So cool. Precise, to the point, and exact. A woman for comfort, not for combat. Well done, Kyambogo College School. One more round of applause.
Yes.
Probably I'm also interested to find out, what about Kyambogo University? How do we clap? How do we show
Kyambogo
appreciation?
University, how do we clap?
This is it, eh? This is it, eh?
Like this.
Okay, so we're gonna do the Kyambogo clap to everybody.
Kyambogo University, knowledge and skills for service.
That is so awesome.
MC.
Yeah.
Before we go back to the presentations, we have some engineers in this building. Allow me to recognize the ICT team. The ICT
University, knowledge and skills
the
for
ICT team
service.
behind. And please get us some 2 hot songs, just 2 hot songs for the mothers in this house. Wow. You believe that? Hey, if you believe that, If you believe that ladies are Basira, do like this. Yeah. Oh. I want you to think about that hero of yours. One, 2, 0. Thank you so much, Engineer Musta and Engineer Sempa. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Awesome. That was a nice one. Thank you so much, DJ. And thank you, everyone. Okay, so Roderick, are you here? Roderick Muhumure? Yes, over there to us. Roderick is representing the PRO's office, making sure that we are clear, we are well, we are good to go. So thank you very much for the great work that you're doing. And right about now, we are going to be having to hear from our second guest speaker. Before I do invite our second guest speaker, ladies and gentlemen, let me just mention a little bit about who he is. Dr. Daniel Ruhweza is a senior lecturer at Makerere University and the head of Department Law and Jurisprudence, School of Law. I promised I would mention it by the end of this event. And he's also the coordinator of human rights and democratization in Africa. He's a commissioner for oath and notary public. He's an advocate of the High Court of Uganda and the President Emeritus of Uganda Christian Lawyers Fraternity. Ladies and gentlemen, help me put your hands together as we welcome Dr. Daniel Ruhweza to talk about reconceptualizing justice to more effectively advance gender equality in Uganda's higher education institutions. Gentlemen.
You're most welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Masters of Ceremony. I will also want to follow the protocol as established by the previous speakers and to recognize the leadership of this university and to thank you for inviting me. Dr. Deborah and I worked together at Makerere at some point in time. And it's good to see that the Lord has elevated her into this place. So congratulations. I'm still wondering why I was invited, seeing that I tend to speak candidly, and hopefully this university is able to accommodate views that that are not normally the norm. There is a lot to say on a day such as this one, because all of us here belong to a mother. At least that is important to note, that we all belong to a mother. And therefore, a day like this one is a day that we cannot ignore. We all have all right. We all have something to say about mothers. We all have something to say about women, and especially Women's Day. So happy Women's Day to all of us. I too use this one. All right. For the avoidance of doubt, I am married, and I have 3 daughters and 1 son. So the voting patterns in our house, you can see, are already warped in a certain direction, but I'm not complaining, because I believe that there is a very big role that women play, and I am who I am because of that. So I continue to celebrate women and the work that they are doing. I would also want to speak to some of the things that I do at the School of Law, Makerere University, probably why Deborah or Dr. Deborah invited me. I lead a conversation called Manhood versus Maleness. And in that conversation, we try to unpack the difference between being a man and being male. And we argue in those conversations that manhood is about responsibility, and being male is, the blessing that comes from our parents when they give us that specific gender. And the reason why this conversation is important to me is because I've noticed over time that the boy child has taken a step back in society, and I've seen that a lot in the School of Law, where I have been honored to teach. And the fundamental reason for those conversations is to ask the boy child to become part and parcel of conversations such as this one. I also want to recognize what universities, public universities, are doing, especially in mainstreaming issues, gender, in their activities. I know, for example, currently at Makerere, there is a whole specific involvement of men and trying to get men to support what I'll call the agenda regarding the girl child, regarding women, and seeing where best they can fit in. But that has, by and large, been talked about by, I'll call her my big sister, Madame Nora, because she's still young. And she has traversed those concepts much, much better than I ever would, because she has also the experience. My paper is regarding reconceptualizing justice, and I look at a trivalent, distributive, and inclusive approach to gender equality in Uganda's higher education institutions. Our legal framework in Uganda for gender equality in higher institutions is formally impressive, yet substantially inadequate. despite constitutional prohibitions on sexual discrimination, ratification of the treaty like CEDAW, and decades of institutional policy, structural barriers persist across the gender lines. So drawing from Professor Sylvia Tamale's foundational study, When Hens Begin to Crow, Gender and Parliamentary Politics in Uganda, as well as Nancy Fraser's Trivalent Model of Justice, and the Office of the High Commission for Human Rights Indicator Matrix, this paper argues that justice in Uganda's higher educational institutions is realized only when institutions move from formal equality to substantive outcome-oriented transformation. Crucially, I argue, to reconceptualize justice itself, that is by distinguishing distributive justice from social justice, to demonstrate that effective gender equality must be inclusive and bidirectional, addressing the persistent marginalization of female students and staff while simultaneously confronting the emerging and well-documented crisis of male underrepresentation. A reform framework that neglects either constituency fails on its own terms. Uganda's Constitution of 1995 does prohibit sexual discrimination and mandates affirmative action for historically marginalized groups, including women. Yet, constitutional text and institutional reality diverge sharply. Professor Sylvia Tamale's When Hens Begin to Crow established this divergence as the defining problem of gender and institutional life in Uganda. When she was studying the 6th Parliament of 1996 to 2001, through quantitative data and qualitative interviews, Tamale demonstrated that women legislators operating under the new constitution encountered a comprehensive regime of structural marginalization, less speaking time, low status community assignments, and systemic sexualized dismissal. The institutions had admitted the hens, but had not ceased to regard their crowing as disorder. That dynamic formal legal inclusion undermined by informal institutional norms continues to operate in Uganda's universities. Therefore, the thesis of this paper is first, that justice in Uganda's higher education institutions is only realized when institutions move from formal equality, neutral rules applied identically, to substantive justice, that is, equitable outcomes secured through affirmative institutional action. Secondly, and more crucially, that transformation must be conceived through two analytically distinct but operationally connected frameworks. One is distributive justice and social justice. To reconceptualize justice in this way is not merely academic. It is the precondition for reform that is genuinely effective. A framework that attends only to one group or that equates gender equality exclusively with female advancement mischaracterizes the problem and produces policies that are simultaneously under-inclusive and politically vulnerable. The concern here is with inclusivity grounded in data, not symmetry for its own sake. Our national enrollment data shows that while female enrollment has risen, reaching 43.1% of public university intake, male enrollment at certain institutions and in certain disciplines is declining in ways that warrant structured institutional attention. At the same time, female enrollment in STEM dramatically remains low at 28.7%. Both trends represent justice deficits under the framework developed below. Addressing them together is not a retreat from feminist scholarship, it is only but a logical extension. So what do we mean by reconceptualizing justice? To make an effective case for gender reform, it is necessary to begin by decomposing the concept of justice itself. The paper contends that justice, as deployed in equality discourse, conflates two analytically distinct claims. Distributive justice, which concerns the fair allocation of benefits, burdens, and opportunities across individuals and groups, and then social justice, which concerns the structural conditions, that is, recognition, participation, and power, under which individuals can live with dignity and exercise agency. Conflating these produces policy errors in both directions. Redistributive interventions that do not address structural exclusion, and structural recognition measures that do not correct material disadvantage. What then do we mean by distributive justice? In the tradition of authors like Rawls and Dworkin, we ask, are the resources, opportunities, and burdens of a society allocated fairly? Applied to higher education, it asks whether students and staff have equal and fair access to admission, scholarships, academic infrastructure, and career progression, regardless of sex. It is fundamentally a question of measurable outcomes against a baseline of fair allocation. Uganda's 1.5 bonus points policy for female applicants is a paradigmatic distributive justice intervention. It corrects for documented structured disadvantage in examination preparation by adjusting the allocation of government-sponsored places. However, distributive justice also generates a symmetry obligation that equality discourse has been slow to acknowledge. If the principle is that resources must be allocated fairly across individuals irrespective of sex, then male students who are statistically underrepresented in certain disciplines or institutions and who face documented structural barriers of their own, including financial precarity, rural exclusion, and limited male-targeted pastoral support, have a distributive justice claim on institutional resources. This is not a claim that male students are equally or more disadvantaged than female students in aggregate. The data does not support that conclusion. It is, rather, a claim that a distributive justice framework cannot exclude any identifiable group from its analytical scope on grounds of prior political salience without ceasing to be a justice framework at all. What then is social justice? In the tradition of authors like Fraser and Young, social justice is concerned with the structural conditions of recognition and participation. It asks not merely whether resources are allocated fairly, but whether the institutional environment allows all persons to participate as equals, to have their identities, contributions, and embodied experiences recognized as legitimate, and to exercise voice in the processes that govern them. Professor Tamale's analysis operates squarely within this tradition. The problem she diagnoses is not institutional culture systematically devalued the epistemic authority of women who claimed it. Social justice analysis is concerned with structural patterns, not individual transactions. The systemic sexual harassment of female students is a social justice concern, to which I will also add female staff. It reflects and reproduces a cultural order that assigns women a subordinate institutional status as much as it's a safety or legal compliance matter. The institutional penalization of reproductive biology through unadapted tenure systems is a social justice concern because it encodes a male career trajectory as the institutional norm and renders the female body a professional deviation. These are not merely resource allocation failures, they are recognition failures. The distinction matters for policy design. A distributive justice lens asks, does this student have the scholarship, the facility, the study time? A social justice lens asks, does this student, once funded and enrolled, have the institutional recognition and structural conditions to succeed? Both questions must be answered affirmatively for justice to be achieved. Neither question is answered by addressing only female students. What then should be the case for inclusive reform? Let's look at the boy child in higher education. The argument that gender equality reform must be inclusive, that is, must address the needs and barriers of male students along those of female students, is empirically grounded and theoretically coherent within the framework set out. It is not a conservative objection to feminist reform. No, it is a requirement of the justice principles that feminist scholarship itself has advanced. National and regional data indicate that male enrollment, while still above female enrollment in aggregate, masks significant discipline-specific and institutional-specific disparities. In several humanities, education and social science programs, male enrollment has declined markedly. International comparative data reinforce this pattern. Across sub-Saharan Africa, boys are more likely to drop out at secondary school due to economic pressure, labor market pool, and the absence of male-targeted retention interventions. The cumulative effect is a pipeline deficit that reaches higher education. This is not a trivial concern. A higher education system that systematically fails to support male students from economically precarious or rural backgrounds is producing a distributive justice deficit. A failure to allocate the resources and opportunities of higher education fairly. That deficit exists alongside and does not negate the more severe and better documented disadvantages facing female students. Both are justice claims within the framework that I develop in this paper. So let's look at the institutional response. The policy implication is to curtail support for female students. The 1.5 bonus points policy, anti-harassment frameworks, and tenure clock provisions are well justified and should be extended. It is to ensure that higher education institutions develop parallel institutional support structures for male students who face identifiable structural barriers. These include financial aid targeted at male students from rural and low-income backgrounds, male-focused pastoral counseling and mental health services, addressing the documented reluctance of male students to seek institutional support, mentorship programs connecting male students with professional role models in disciplines where male enrollment is declining, and data collection disaggregated by sex, by discipline, by institution type, and rurality, so that the precise contours of male underrepresentation attract with the same analytical attention applied to female enrollment. This is what it means to make gender equality more effective as per the title of my presentation. An equality framework that does not account for the full distribution of disadvantage across gender lines will generate policies that are simultaneously inadequate to the complexity of the problem and politically contestable. A framework grounded in distributive justice and social justice, properly understood, is immune to the charge that it advantages one group at the expense of another, because it requires attending to all justice deficits wherever they fall. What then can be the theoretical framework that we can use? Nancy Fraser's trivalent model holds that justice requires parity of participation across three analytical distinctive dimensions: redistribution, that is equitable allocation of resources and opportunities; recognition, that is just valuation of different identities and functions; and representation, which is equal institutional voice. In this paper, we argue that this framework to an inclusive gender equality agenda can apply, one that addresses both female marginalization and male underrepresentation simultaneously. Applied bidirectionally, Fraser's model generates the following analysis. The redistribution dimension requires that scholarships, infrastructure, and pastoral resources be allocated according to documented need, not historical political salience. Concretely, this means scholarships based on documented need for both male and female participants or applicants, a principle that extends to corrective logic of the 1.5 bonus points policy to all identifiable structural disadvantage rather than limiting its scope to a single group. The recognition dimension requires that institutions value the embodied experiences and cultural contributions of all students, valuing female epistemic authority so that women's knowledge claims are treated as equally authoritative within academic culture, and simultaneously legitimizing male help-seeking mental health so that the institutional culture does not penalize male vulnerability as a deviation from a stoic norm. Stoic, the other word could be grit, hard-faced norm. The representation dimension requires that institutional government reflects the diversity of a student body, ensuring governance reflects the diversity of gender, discipline, and economic background, so that policy is made by those withstanding to identify the full range of institutional injustice. The three dimensions are not sequential. They are mutually reinforcing, and a deficit in one will undermine the gains in the other. So as you can see from that presentation on the PowerPoint, you have redistribution, where the goal is equitable resources and the application is scholarships based on documented need for both rural male and rural female applicants. Recognition, that is the valuation of identity, where you value female epistemic authority and at the same time legitimizing male help-seeking for mental health. Then representation, that is having an institutional voice, ensuring governance reflects the diversity of gender, discipline, and economic background. The Office of the High Commission for Human Rights Indicator Matrix, which is about distinguishing structural indicators, that is legal commitments, process indicators, that is implementation of effort, and outcome implementers, that is actual change, applies with equal force to an inclusive agenda. Structural indicators must be assessed for their coverage of both female and male disadvantage. Process indicators must track implementation across both categories of intervention. Outcome indicators must measure change in the conditions of all students, not a subset defined by prior political salience. Those three pillars I mentioned, redistribution, recognition, and representation, show what we are trying to talk about. The 1.5 bonus points policy is justified by substantive equality, but redistribution must extend to all documented disadvantage, including the rural male students. Recognition, on the other hand, which is about safety culture and tenure, here the anti-harassment policy and tenure clock provisions address female recognition, while we have parallel frameworks that must legitimize male vulnerability and the need for pastoral care. For the avoidance of doubt, when I talk about pastoral care, I mean mentorship, someone to talk to. In other universities that have gone to, pastoral care is looked at as tutors, tutorial care, people who have given time to listen. And I can tell from my own experience that on many an occasion, I have spent hours just listening to male needs and the challenges that they encounter. I know that the guild president mentioned some of them, but for avoidance of doubt, I must state that they come from both gender. While men, for example, I had a case of a man who was a young student, male student, who was so desperate because he had lost his virginity to the girl, and the girl had dumped him, and he couldn't study. But at the same time, there have been cases of ladies who have equally suffered from the hands of men. And so the idea behind this manhood versus maleness conversation is to help the boy child to understand what it means. Responsibility, which includes breaking off a relationship properly. Taking responsibility in a relationship is totally different from the current culture of ghosting. And if you want more details about ghosting, I'm happy to explain if there is any Q&A. The third pillar of justice that we need to revisit is representation. This is a governance diversity where institutional governance must reflect diversity of gender, discipline, geography, and economic background, so policy serves the full range of injustice. Now, I go to the next part where we try to ask why current reform is insufficient. Looking at the Office of the High Commission for Human Rights Indicator Matrix, there are three areas we can look at: resource disparity, institutional culture, and having no disaggregated data. Our normative framework is in broad terms in place. The implementation gap, which is the distance between legal commitment and institutional practice, is my paper's central diagnostic finding. Three causes account for it. With resource disparity, we are saying well-resourced urban higher education institutions can fund lactation stations and trained HR. Rural institutions often cannot. This creates uneven implementation. When we go to institutional culture, committees constituted for accreditation but staffed by insiders reluctant to adjudicate against powerful colleagues do not produce substantive change. When we go to disaggregated data being absent, gender equality data are rarely broken down by discipline, institutional type, or rurality, masking the sharpest inequalities for all groups. Then what would be the policy recommendations? First of all, justice in Uganda's higher education institutions is a continuous process of dismantling structural barriers, not a status achieved by formal legal adoption. The paper has shown through Tamale's foundational analysis, Fraser's trivalent framework, the distributive stroke social justice distinction, and the OHCHR's indicator matrix that Uganda's existing legal interventions address real dimensions of injustice but remain insufficient. Both because they are inadequately implemented and because they are insufficiently inclusive. So what then are my recommendations? First, mandatory gender-responsive budgeting for all National Council for Higher Education accredited institutions. All those requiring analysis of budget proposals for differential gender impact on all students and reallocation of resources to close process indicator gaps, lactation facilities, security infrastructure, male pastoral support services, and committee training. Second, a regulated pregnancy and parenting academic accommodation protocol at each institution, providing the right to blended or deferred student without academic penalty for all parents, eliminating the dead year phenomenon of forced withdrawal for female students while extending comparable parental accommodation to male students. I have benefited from this kind of intervention. I remember while my wife was at Uganda Management Institute, she gave birth, and the next day she was in class. She's a Muchiga. Third, standardization and active monitoring of the 2026 same position return guidelines across public and private higher education institutions as a condition of accreditation with annual compliance data published by the National Council for Higher Education. And fourth, a male student support framework requiring each higher education institution to develop targeted interventions, scholarships, mentorships, mental health services for male students from rural and economically marginalized backgrounds, with progress tracked through sex disaggregated enrollment and completion data at the discipline level. Let me emphasize this. Someone mentioned it, and I think it was the guild president, that we have seen an increase, at least as a lecturer for the many years I've lectured, I've seen an increase in student participation, student leadership, innovation, volunteerism, passion, and follow-up from the girl students, the girl child. I've seen that on many an occasion. And I like to support and applaud all the interventions that have been made to support the girl child in that regard. But at the same time, yes, please, let's have a hand clap. But at the same time, I have seen what it means to walk through a student, male child, to 7 and 8 years of law school. A course that should have ended 4 years ago, the boy child is still struggling because of alcoholism, because of drug abuse, because of sexual indiscipline, and lack of mentorship. I've seen men, fathers, celebrate the final graduation of their sons with tears rolling down their cheeks, wondering why God was so kind to them, because they thought all hope had been lost. I've also seen, like yesterday, in my office, a father bringing his child and me trying to convince the child, the male child, that your father is willing to pay for you to get a master's degree. And the boy is looking for excuses. We need to have that mentorship done. Why is it important? Because the girl child needs husbands. We may run away from that reality, but it's a truth. Number two, the girl child needs a safe working environment. I have been privy to conversations. I've been privy and I've actually appeared before investigations on sexual harassment involving perpetrators that are often male by gender. And I have seen how difficult it is when men realize that their activities, which are seen as socially acceptable in certain spaces of this nation are not socially acceptable or recommended in higher institutions of learning. And therefore, questions such as how does a man relate to a woman in the class space? What does it mean to say no? Which behavior is inappropriate? To what extent is touching allowed? Etc, etc. Those conversations need a space where there is male student support. Number 5, and probably not the last, is a unified gender equality monitoring system under the National Council for Higher Education, disaggregating all data by sex, discipline, institution type, and rurality, and reporting annually on both female and male disadvantage across all 3 OHCHR indicator categories. Professor Tamale's prescription for epistemological democratization, restructuring institutions so that excluded standpoints become generative within deliberation, is the deepest reform this paper endorses. That democratization, properly understood, encompasses the standpoints of all who are structurally excluded. Female students navigating a patriarchal institutional culture, and male students from backgrounds that the institution's design has never been calibrated to support. Legal reform of the kind proposed here creates the conditions for that transformation. It does not of itself produce it. The hens are still crowing. So increasingly, as students, the system was never designed to hear. Thank you very much. Yesterday, I had the honor of having my collection of poetry finally reviewed after 2 years in the Observer newspaper. And today I've had the privilege of listening to some poems by ladies. As an advocate for the boy child, I think it's only fair that you listen to a poem by someone who is not female. The evidence in the courtroom. The evidence in the courtroom was that Uncle pledged to support us when Daddy breathed his last, having slumped to the dust. The evidence in the courtroom was that Uncle insisted on caring for us, claiming it was his brotherly duty that God said, look after widows and orphans. The evidence in the courtroom was that Uncle was supposed to clothe us. Instead, he raped and defiled us, sucking on our tiny nipples and robbing us of all our innocence. The evidence in the courtroom was that Uncle was supposed to protect us. Instead, he tortured us and beat us to pulp till we could walk no more. The evidence in the courtroom was that Uncle was butchered by us. He lay cold and lifeless, no longer able to mess us now or ever again. Thank you. Why have I said or chosen that poem amongst the many? It's because of what my big sister Nora said, senior counsel Nora said. The law is on the side of the girl child. The practice might be different, but the law is on the side of the girl child. When I read this poem, yes, it's true that the girls took the law in their hands. They probably will never be sentenced to death for murder. It'll probably be manslaughter, or they will be forgiven. But the law is on the side of the girl child. Article 33 of the Constitution of Uganda talks about women having equal equality as men. It means that we men can no longer sustain the argument that women do not inherit from their father's bloodline. that argument is no longer sustainable. Because the Constitution of Uganda also says that all cultures that go against that constitution shall be declared null and void to the extent of that inconsistency. So as men, we cannot argue that because a woman is married off, she is not able to inherit. Number two, women are advantaged because when they get married, they receive equal property. That is the law. The practice might be different, but that is the law. That in a marital home where there is matrimonial property, a woman shall not be disadvantaged simply because she is married. That is the law. The law also says that when it comes to acquiring property, a woman is also able to acquire property for herself, just as a man should. So the law is on your side. And probably that is the easier part of our discussion. The bigger discussion is for you and I to start thinking, how then do we actualize the provisions of the law? And one of those things is going to be that we have to speak to the males, to speak to the boy child, to help them understand what the law actually says. Because education is key. Sensitization is important. And I think the reason why society has taken a little while longer to agree with the provision of the law is because the law has remained esoteric. It is here in our statute books and has not been explained to the boy child. Those of us who have been advantaged to sit in a classroom thanks to a woman know better. But many who have not had the opportunity to be taught don't know. A certain grandfather who since passed on was having a conversation with his children, and he said that for me, it's only you people who told me that it is wrong to beat my wife. I used to beat my wife until you told me it is wrong. Thought it was the way things happen. And another man told me he had a girlfriend who told him that she did not think he loved her because he had never beaten her. Sensitization of those lived experiences. Let me close, because my paper is about justice, by saying that justice is a process. It is not a status. Justice is a process. It is not a status. What is justice? We have reconceptualized justice, but we need to ask ourselves, what is justice? We may not have the time to engage in that, and hopefully, Deborah, you'll call me one other day. But I'll end that conversation by yet another poem, which I've entitled Niwe Oha, meaning, who are you? Justice, who are you? Niwe Oha. Are you the disappearing face of my Isenkati auntie, whose bloodied eyes and slaughtered face I no longer see? Are you the stern, bespectacled face of the she-justice, casting fire and brimstone at the terrified defilement suspect in the accused box? Maybe you are this money they gave me when they butchered my father and boiled him in a huge post. Tell me justice, Niwe Oha. Are you the small still voice that tells me to forgive, or the hard ball of air in my throat which appears when I see the general who burnt my village drive past in a 4WD? Are you the artificial arm that I look at now? Or the young man I see at my feet who brings me joy in spite of the fact that he was forced into me by countless men? Justice. Niwe or her. Maybe you are the sense of victory, or is it vengeance when the man who swindled the money for my deceased AIDS-riddled cousin is sent off to jail? Justice. Niwe. Thank you very much. God bless.
Wow. Oh, Doctor, I think Doctor has done us justice by actualizing justice. Let us also do him justice by giving him a bigger hand clap. MC, I think this afternoon, very many of us didn't know what justice was made up of. And
yes.
Today,
the best description for me is that I may look for the right words to describe that submission from Dr. Daniel, and probably you will help me to put a description to it. But what stands out for me is the way his submission has been able to provide a balance on what needs to be done for the female or for the women, and also not leaving the men behind. Because I have engaged with young university students in different universities, and in one of my engagements, one of the young men came out and was very tough. It's like, you're talking about empowerment for the girls, leadership programs, entrepreneurship programs. Who even cares about the male child? And at that point, it did not make sense to me, because it is evident in, in our day-to-day life, not until you hear such a submission with facts and with a solution. It not just submit the gaps or the problem, but he submitted a solution, the evidence in the courtroom.
This afternoon, I've also known that it is important, much as we are ensuring equality, there must be equity.
There must be equity.
Exactly.
Quite amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, a hand of applause to Dr. Daniel Ruhweza. I don't know whether we'll be able to access that presentation in a way or the other. I'm really interested to continue engaging with it. So, what do we do? The Kyambogo College one, the...
Can do all. We can do all.
We do both, eh? Okay. We are at Nabisunsa ladies now. This is it, right?
Yes.
And then Kyambogo College School.
Kyambogo College School.
Kyambogo University.
Kyambogo University. Knowledge
There
and skills
we go.
for service.
Amazing, amazing.
Thank you so very much.
Yeah, so right now, without taking a little bit more of your time, allow me to take the pleasure to invite Dr. Deborah Nakaliowa to take the honor to invite our chief guest for this occasion.
You're most welcome, Doctor.
Thank you so much. I imagine this has been a very enriching and insightful conversation. I'm sure all of us have learnt a lot out of it, and we are yet to hear more. So before I call our chief guest, I invite her, I need to give a brief introduction or a brief biography of who she is. This is Owechitibwa in Buganda. Owechitibwa Dr. Prosperous Nanchindu, who is the head of Department of Languages and Communication Studies at the Faculty of Arts and Arts and Humanities, Kyambogo University, Kampala. Dr. Prosperous Nanchindu is a member of the 2021 Uganda Government Education Policy Review Commission, that is
2025. She is also a former Minister for Social Services, that is Health and Education, and in charge of the Queen Consort, Nabagereka of Buganda. In the Kingdom of Buganda, 2016 to 2023. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together as we welcome our Chief, Dr. Prosperous, or Owechitibwa, Dr. Prosperous Nanchindu Kavuma. You're most welcome, Doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Deborah. I know people have been here almost the whole morning, and now it is noon. I was whispering to the president in the house that the academics we do is additional to the common knowledge we need. We should have had this room full, not even with lectures going on. Next time, the Gender Mainstreaming Unit, Guidance and Counseling, Dean of Students, and the Guild President, let's have our students here. It is a rare opportunity to find this kind of learning. That's why we see people educated, but with very many problems in life. And these things talked about today are very practical. We should next time do better to have our students here. I remembered when I was in university, late 90s, early 2000, up to 2002, such conversations built us up for politics, leadership, parenting, and other things. It does not make sense to keep the academics only. Maybe some of you have not seen professors struggling with life. They have the money, they have everything, but they can't succeed. Anyway, the VC did not send me to say that. Good afternoon once again. Dear keynote speakers, the head Gender and Mainstreaming Unit, the Guild President, members of staff of Kyambogo University, guests from other institutions, guests from NGOs present here, students from Kyambogo University, students from our feeder schools, our neighbors, Kyambogo College and Nabisunsa Girls School. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. On my own behalf and on behalf of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Eli Katunguka Rakshaya, the Vice Chancellor of Kyambogo University, I would like to welcome you all. I welcome the keynote speakers today at this event. I welcome colleagues from Kyambogo University, friends, students, and other guests here as we celebrate our Women's Day for 2026. Today is the 26th of March 2026, and we are still in the month of what we call the Women's Month. Kyambogo University, and in this post-international Women's Day event, we do more than celebrating. As you've seen, the discussions and presentations in the room. We are in action already as we commemorate the Women's Day for this year. We thank you, keynote speakers, for educating us. The theme for this year, rights, justice, action for all women, girls, reminds us that equality is not a passive aptitude. It is an active pursuit, and we all need such issues as we grow and live on the planet. While we have made progress, the reality in 2026 is that women still face barriers to justice and equality. It has been well said that justice is available. We have the legal frameworks, but the practice is not yet okay. We are here to say that left 285 years left if we do not increase the speed at which we are working on the issues of equality. We have 286 years to close the legal gap between men and women. To close the gap we are looking at. Members, none of us will be alive 286 years from now. We had better fasten our belts and we move faster into action. We need action today, and I'm happy we've had issues talked about, but we also need action for the future. We must acknowledge that in many parts of the world, women still face limited opportunities, discrimination, and lack of safety. True, equality means breaking down the discriminatory laws, harmful social norms, and economic barriers that hold women and girls. We are not just talking about a few, but about all women, regardless of their backgrounds. Recently, the president of Uganda said that women are good leaders. We thank him for realizing that. But there is a lot more which we need to do as institutions of higher learning, as leaders in positions where we have women and men already, and as a nation. We still have a long way to go. But already, as we know, Uganda is performing very well. They have taken us through the constitution, leaders here and far, to start looking at women as able leaders, and fellow women in particular. We have seen scenarios when they promote a woman, it is another woman to pull her down. This year, I encourage everyone to expand their mindset in investing in women. Just go and invest in a woman nearby you. Invest in the girl child. When we give women the opportunities, tools, and respect they deserve, we gain strong economies, more resilient societies, and more peaceful environments. Colleagues, continue giving mentorship. Gender mainstreaming unit, don't get tired. Continue giving mentorship. We have seen leaders from departments in science. Continue supporting women in those departments. We need women in science and technology. We need women at work. And we need women to get equal pay with men. And we need to give women leadership decision-making positions. As we look ahead from 2026, let us not step back. Let us move forward together. Let us take this day to turn our commitments into measurable progress. Let us ensure that every woman and girl can live free from fear, violence, and discrimination. As I conclude, I want to request, first of all, I emphasize that we need to break the structural barriers and achieve legal equality for all women. Let us focus on investing in women to gain educational, societal, economic, cultural, and other sustainable benefits. Let us move beyond commemoration to tangible changes in policy, safety, and representation. I was so touched from the discussion that we do not yet have a running policy on sexual harassment. I've done a lot of work in sexual harassment, and we know how power is used to harass others, especially the girl child. Let us emphasize the need for rights for all women, recognizing unique challenges faced by different groups of women across levels. You may see some women highly educated, but with a mass of challenges in their lives. Some women are rich with enough monies on themselves, but with a lot of stress due to inequality. Let us champion women-led solutions to local, national, and global challenges. I'm happy that one of our speakers has given us solutions. Let us pick them, and we start action. Let us revamp the discussions of equality for women, as this government did about a decade ago. We need to do more because we still have women with challenges. Let us involve male counterparts. Let us have the boy child. Doctor, in the gender mainstreaming unit, I want to pledge my support when we have event for the boy child. As a mother of boys, I know what they go through, and with if we plan well, we have the strategies to look at the boy child. Our boys are stressed even here, and many of them are needy, by lack of a better word. But some of them are on pressure to give girls money. They need a lot of support. And as I said, I pledge to support the process. And I'll be very happy here to see this room full of boys and men, and we talk to them. Dear members, I've been in community, as you've heard, for so many years, working with women, gender, and other issues. But men have problems. I'll give a scenario, if I have the time, where I talked to a couple, and a certain man, a certain rich man I will not mention, because you might know the name, is a prominent one, slept in the car, in the compound for 2 years. And he built that storied house. He had issues, and he didn't know how to handle the issues. Men need empowerment. Without that, we are creating more problems for the female and the girl child. As you know, as a female, as ladies, we are usually very close to our fathers than our mothers. And usually we get the best knowledge, counseling, support from our fathers. So if fathers are not empowered, we shall miss the empowerment of the girl child. I'm sure the girls have heard that, and I know how close they are to their fathers. Let these men have knowledge, let them be empowered, then we shall have made a step ahead. It is very important in the institutions of higher learning to start such action, because many people and the neighborhood, in the communities, they look up to us. Let us start the male engagement in Kyambogo, then other people will follow. I want to thank you all for your commitment, for your involvement, for your participation today as we celebrate the International Women's Day for Kyambogo University. Continue supporting our gender mainstreaming unit. It needs all of us. And I want to encourage you, Deborah, and your team. We can always support as lecturers. Had you said that we should close lectures for 2 hours today, all our students would have been here. Next time, work with us closely. Just look at the timetable and we advocate. Yes. In a special way, I want to thank the students from Kyambogo College and Nabisunsa for the entertainment given to us. I suspect as a language teacher that you innovated the poems and the speeches. You need an applause. I thank you for the confidence. When you stood here, I really saw people who are coming up as future leaders and models for other women. I have moved across the country in education institutions, and I have seen how girls are there and they don't know what is happening. And they also want to, they have never even, they hear there is Kampala or things happening, but they have to compete with you who are very eloquent, elaborate, and resourceful. I know at your level, you can visit other schools. You can empower other girls at your age. Please keep doing that. Good enough. These days we have media available. You can take a video of your story and throw it. It will reach other parts of the country. Don't keep the knowledge to yourselves. Such that we move as a team and we work across levels. As we close today, please go and act. As we see you next year, the next year celebrations, with strides ahead, I'm sure when we do what we are supposed to do, we shall not be lamenting, but we shall be really celebrating with action. It keeps a lot of stress and fatigue to celebrate when you have problems. Let us continue working on those challenges. I thank you so much, Gender Mainstreaming Unit, for inviting the Vice Chancellor. And I'm privileged to have represented him here. I also bring to you greetings from my Dean, Faculty of Arts, one of the female deans. Today we'll have quite a number of activities, and she couldn't be here. Ladies and gentlemen, issues of equality, especially gender equality, rights, justice, can't be sorted in hours. I'm sure we shall have another opportunity. But usually, you know, a theme comes for a year and it doesn't appear again. But I know it will run through the year. We shall be waiting activities in line to justice, rights, and equality. I thank you so much. Knowledge and skills for service for God and my country.
Very much our chief guest for concretizing the discussion that we are having today as we celebrate the International Women's Day at Kyambogo University. Owekitiibwa Dr. Tusiimye nnyo nyabo, tusiimidde ddala. Yes, so thank you very much. We appreciate the commitment and the resolution, the support that you have pledged towards the Gender Mainstreaming Unit, and also the proposal to have such engagements go on child. So we appreciate that. I personally would look forward to have or to see such discussions going on with the girl child as well as the boy child. So thank you very much. So we have come to the revelation, to the genesis of the revelation, right? And we'll be doing just a few more activities, and one is photography. I would love to have a picture with all of you. So we will have our, high table pictures over there, and we will find a way of having a picture with all of us. Either we are staying inside and the guests will come over here. We will decide on that with the camera people, with the technical people. But, and then,
so meanwhile, the ICT team should come.
okay, so we've been guided. We're going to have pictures with our schools, the sister schools, Kyambogo College School, the students and your staff, and as well as Nabisunsa girls, and then our invited guests, our key guests.
So we are going to be guided by the team, ICT team.
ICT team.
Are we outside? Are we going
Probably
outside or here?
Okay, so let's do this. Let's do this. We are going to invite all the university staff. We will have a picture with them, with the guests over here. All the university staff first. All the university staff, if you're here, you're university staff, plus our invited guests. Invited guests, the different representatives. So, our dear guests, you will come over here and then you will take a picture with the staff and the invited guests. Then after we will have the schools.
Yeah. Invited guests.
The invited guests as well, please come. The ICT team is guiding us on what to do.
I want to thank everyone that has attended this celebration. I want to thank Kyambogo College School. I want to thank Nabisunsa Girls School. I've seen our leaders here, headed by the guild president. I've seen a number of ministers in the house. I want to really appreciate you. I've seen our students here of Kyambogo University. We want to appreciate you for turning up. I've seen even some presidential candidates to be. Probably I've seen Agaba around. I don't know whether we have others around. I want to thank the ICT team for being with us throughout. Musta and Engineer Sempa, thank you so much. I want to thank the mentors that have ushered this celebration. Mentors, thank you so very much. I want to thank the members of the gender mainstreaming unit.
So
the next group
thank you. We'll have the next group.
Can have Nabisunsa girls.
The ladies.
Ladies from Nabisunsa girls. Meanwhile, I want to thank all departments. I was corrected that we welcomed all the departments, but we forgot to welcome members from the language department. That we forgot to welcome the members from the language department. We really welcome you. I've seen Becky around, the two Beckys around.
Okay.
And we are privileged that the head of the language department was still our chief guest. Yes, that is Nabisunsa. Those are ladies from Nabisunsa girls. I've seen Agaba, you can stand up for recognition. I don't know whether we have another one this side. No. Where?
Okay, Nabisunsa, I can see the photo
Is
moment.
that Sharon? What's the name again? Sharon, eh? Hey, presidential candidate, you must be having your PA there. Let the PA tell me the name and you shine. Yes, I don't want to move. We have any other candidate here? Intending candidate?
Okay.
Okay, we can have Kyambogo College School.
College School.
Kyambogo College School, please come in. Come forward. I want to know the name of
Kyambogo College School, please come.
So if you've not taken a photo with the brains we have here, then you've missed out an opportunity. DJ? We are going to do the most important part of this function. But which one is that? Eh? Eh? Lunch? Yes, we are going to have lunch, but the arrangement will be, we shall start with our students. You know, in our homes, we don't eat before the bargain eat, not so? And I know Kyambogo students are very patient. We shall start with the students from Nabisunsa and Kyambogo College. After the prayer, you'll move behind there and grab what to eat. Who is praying for us? Who is praying for our lunch? Who is praying for our lunch? Yes, come. Come.
Let's humble ourselves. Heavenly King of Glory, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this function. Father, as we are going to eat lunch, may you please bless it. We thank you so much, Lord, for your provision, and we pray and believe that it will satisfy us all. In Jesus' mighty name we've prayed. Amen.
So we shall have some usher to guide. Sharon, kindly guide what those people should do. I'm told Nabisunsa, the staff I think are going to have. So the staff members will move outside there. You're going to guide them. Okay? Then the students, starting with Nabisunsa and Kyambogo College, you're going to give them. They should sit. Okay. Kindly remain where you're seated. They have changed the program. They are going to serve you from there.
Yes, I also came with my daughters. I want to recognize them. Sweetney, where are you? Just raise up and wave to us. Sweetney Mirebe Praise. She just finished Senior 6 at Kyambogo College School.
Please come to Kyambogo. Applications are open.
And then I have another praise over there, Nabisunsa. She's very, very amazing. Yes, thank you. I am actually impressed with what you're doing. So keep going and keep inspiring. I thought I needed to mention that, Mr. MC.
Oh, allow me also to recognize Noahereza Angela, GRC Faculty of Social Science.